Hello and welcome to another Oil Pastel video. Today we will paint Howl's moving castle, and as always I am using my Sennelier portrait set, which just has an incredible collection of colors in there. And the consistency is heaven, smooth like butter. I also have this wooden box where I store separate colors I got. And of course I have the Neo Pastel Caran d'Ache 48 Oil Pastel set. I'll try and explain how I go about this piece. It's not a tutorial per se, but I believe you are able to see everything I am doing, and I'll give you a few tips on the way. I am painting on a Hahnemühle A3 sized cotton sheet. As I paint this sketch with pencil, I realize that it probably isn't the best medium to do such a detailed piece. You know, oil pastels aren't known to be great for fine lines, not thinking very far ahead. The first thing I always do is get the general colors down on the paper. With this one, I knew I wanted to have every little inch of this painting covered with oil pastel. So I look at my reference picture, which is this scene of Howl's moving castle walking up to the shore of the lake, collapsing down while emitting lots of steam. I am looking at that picture and see what kind of colors I can find in there. Really dig deep. Every little shade you can find and place on paper will help you later on. After this first general color layer, I take out this paper stump and start blending the colors. Now, one way you can get details in your painting is by being thoughtful with your blending lines. You can use the fine tip of your paper stump to create lines that weren't there before. That is what I'll do for all of the castle. Another day, another painting session, and we continue with the background. In the background there is some fog, misty mountains, and a beautiful blue sky. With the background I am not as precise. I want this foggy, misty, out of focus look. Same procedure. After getting down the general colors, I use the paper stump to mix the colors together and give it the shape I want it to have. Howl's moving castle is standing on this little strip of land, the shore of the lake. In Studio Ghibli films, the colors are always very saturated. So not only is the grass very green, but the lake is also very blue. The reason I am painting this is because it is supposed to be the title page of my calendar. I want to make my own calendar for next year. I will take a photo because oil pastel paintings are hard to scan, and then print that out and use it as a cover, a book cover for my calendar. When covering large areas such as the sky, I tend to go in there with a light color first, in this case cream. Whatever color you place on top will then mix with the cream. If you place the blue first, it will be stuck to the paper and it will not mix as well with a lighter color you put on top. So be mindful in which order you cover your larger surface. I'm always very scared to make the sky too blue. That happened to me often already. And the sky does get a bit darker, more blue towards the top. And you can really get these nuances down on the paper better if you use the light color first. What makes the background look even more out of focus is if there are a few little details you can actually see. So if you paint a tree, try to give it a handful of very detailed leaves in the foreground. One of the reasons water is difficult to depict in oil pastel is because there are many very fine lines imitating the reflection of light on the water's surface. The way I achieve them is by creating as fine as possible lines with the edge of an oil pastel stick, and then I use the paper stumps only horizontally. That way your hopefully already thin line will be even thinner, and if there is excess pigment, you will only distribute it to left and right and not to top and bottom and accidentally make your lines thicker. Once I am satisfied with the background and everything, enough time has passed for me to go back to the main piece, the castle, because now the process of painting in the details will start, and that is a long process. What helps me is the use of this Pit Pastel Faber-Castell black pencil, but it oftentimes gives out. It is not perfect. Maybe I have the wrong kind. I really thought I would be able to paint on there with an oil-based pastel pencil, but I oftentimes need to clean the edge of the pen in order to get some pigment free of the oil pastel. And the reason I do use this now for this piece especially is because in the Studio Ghibli films almost everything has an outline. It wouldn't be natural if you want to depict a realistic scene to give it a black outline, but in Ghibli films or animated scenes that is fine. I switch a lot between the paper stump and the black pencil, and as soon as the outlines are there, I go back to using the pastel sticks. And then it is really a matter of putting a bit of pigment as close to exactly where you want it to as you can, and then using your paper stump to give it detail, give it fine lines, and maybe push it towards where it is supposed to be. You need to master the pigment distribution. And one last example on how I make very fine lines is this gray metal construction that is poking out to the side. First, I use gray, the color that it actually should be. Then I use the paper stump to make sure the surface is even and the pigment distributed. Then we go over the exact same places with our white oil pastel stick. Again, use the paper stump, make sure the pigment stays in place. And then lastly, do the same thing but with a black oil pastel stick. That way you have an interesting mix of colors and make it stand out a bit more. And that is it. The piece is done and I am very, very happy with it. I hope you are able to take away some tips or tricks for your own painting, or just had a nice time watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. I read every single one. and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!